I want to talk to you for a few minutes. Feel free to keep eating, get more food if you need. Don't leave desserts coming. We held that out, Steve. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit tonight about charity in general. And some of the things that I experienced over the last couple of years that I think are worth sharing and talking about. I have a confession to make. I am an emotional giver. Been that way my whole life. You show me a sad person, a suffering dog. Pretty much, I instinctively reach for my checkbook. No due diligence, no investigation. Which is odd to me because my day job, I'm a venture capitalist. And we do huge amounts of due diligence before we make an investment. We do background checks, we run spreadsheet models, we talk to industry experts. But in my giving, I had no process like that, which struck me as really odd. So about 3 years ago, I made a New Year's resolution that I was going to try to give more intelligently. So in that process, I said, well, the first thing I need to know is I need to learn about charity. So I started reading books about different kinds of charity and things that, you guys see this? One of the first books I got a hold of was a book called Dead Aid. And this was Gardner who worked for years in Africa and analyzed all of the aid that had gone into Africa, literally billions of dollars over decades. And what he had noted is that the more aid that went into Africa, the lower the gross national product was, the lower the standard of living was. Almost dollar for dollar for the aid going into Africa. And he cited a lot of examples of reasons for this. He said that a lot of times we brought rice in. The aid organization would bring rice in to feed a village. But some of the consequences of that was that they put all the rice farmers out of business by lowering the price of rice. And the next year there were no more farmers and the situation was actually worse. So now I was in a really pickle because now I was not only worried about was my aid going to be effective, but could it actually do damage? So this didn't help me a lot, but it made me think about a lot of things. If you're going to read one book on giving, it should probably be the one that's not showing up on this slide for some reason. Let me try it again. But anyway, it's called Dead Aid, and it's by Robert Lumpton. Was it the fourth? Sorry, I'm looking too far along. Oh, I got it. Nope, this one's called, this is the book that you don't see for some reason, but it is by Robert Lumpton, and it's called Toxic Charity. And
David, say it again.
Toxic Charity by Robert Lumpton. And Robert worked for 30 years, inner cities, all over the United States. He worked internationally in Nicaragua. He's one of the first people that mentioned Opportunity International, which I'm going to talk to you about some as well today. But he basically cited example after example of how people went with the best of intentions. They gave money, they did things, and it had no lasting results. And often actually left the people in a worse situation. He quotes the CEO of the President of Nicaragua saying, "You Americans come down here and turn my people into beggars." So we came up with kind of some guidelines for what is accountable giving, what is accountable aid. And he gave us some very simple guidelines. He said, one, never do for the poor what they can do for themselves. Number two, limit one way, non-accountable giving, which we'll talk about in a moment, to emergency situations only. And number three, strive to empower the poor through employment, lending, and investing, rather than one-way, non-accountable charity. And then above all, he says, do no harm. Make sure your charity is doing no harm. And those words kind of haunted me. How can charity, and there's a book. So, how can charity do harm? Well, you've heard the old axiom. If you give once, you elicit appreciation. Twice, you elicit expectation. 3 times, entitlement. And 4 times, dependency. Because often poverty is not so much a financial condition as a state of mind. He talks a lot in his book about what happens, what creates this state of mind. I know a lady who worked in a soup kitchen for years for a church, and one year she resigned. And they said, "Why are you resigning? You've been such a faithful worker here." And she said, "I see the same people here, year after year after year." And so I've decided I have not served these people. They are no better off. They've just become dependent on the food we're giving them. I knew another guy who decided one year that he was going to stop giving any money to roadside beggars. And instead, he was going to hand them a little pre-printed card that said, I will give you a job and pay you $20 an hour, and if you can't get to where the work is, I'll send someone to pick you up. He said he gave out over 100 of these cards over a 2-year period. How many phone calls do you think he got?
2.
3.
None. Not one. Because often, poverty is a state of mind. You've heard, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Only one. But the light bulb has to want to change. So how does charity extract a heavy toll on those who receive it? And this is a deep concept. I really had to think about this. When you give to someone something that they can give themselves, it often lessens that person. It hurts their self-esteem. It turns them into a victim. I don't know if you remember from your psychology classes the Pygmalion effect, or the My Fair Lady effect, where if you treat people a certain way long enough, they'll begin to act that way. They begin to see themselves in the mirror of your eyes, and they go, well, that's what I am. And they begin to act that way. So if you see them as empowered and resourceful and worthy of investment, then they turn into that. They live up to that expectation. If you see them as to be pity and objects of sorrow, you turn them into this victim, and they live up to that expectation as well. So what is accountable charity? Accountable charity is one that places an expectation on the person receiving the charity. So unaccountable giving subsidizes poverty, humiliates the poor, creates an entitlement mentality, and increases the need for more charity. And unfortunately, I would put a lot of charities, if not the majority of them, in this bucket. Accountable giving empowers individuals, promotes individual human dignity, leads to self-sufficiency, and reduces the need for additional charity. So, charity only makes the unknowing giver feel good. And I mean, by that I mean unaccountable charity. If you look at the people who have worked their whole life in charity, raising money for charity, you'll find quotes like this all over the place. This is Gardner. Capitalism takes more people out of poverty than aid. The highest form of charity is to help someone start a business. Or the ex-president of the former president of the World Bank, we will not solve the problem of poverty until we change our perception of the poor from objects of charity to assets upon which we build a better world. So what are we going to do about poverty? I'm sorry, one poverty picture is still in there tonight. These are really hard facts to take in. Half the world lives on less than $2 a day. Most are women and children. 1 billion people live in poverty. 67 million children do not attend school. 90% of their parents have no bank account. If you have no bank account, you have no savings, you have no safety net. Anything wipes you out, wipes your family out. So what can we do if giving money isn't the answer? So I classify charities in 3 buckets, and you can kind of use this analogy that you've heard before and I've added to. You have the A bucket, give a man a fish, feed him for a day. And sometimes you need this kind of charity. It's not sustainable, it doesn't change the poverty condition in any way, but if there is a tsunami or a refugee crisis, sometimes there just has to be a plug. You have to just fix it. And this is very expensive charity, it doesn't change the world, but it saves lives in the short run. And so we have to do some of that. But if that's all you do, you never change the underlying causes of poverty. You never make the world a better place. So the second bucket is teach a man to fish, feeding for life. And there are a lot of charities fall in this bucket of we're going to teach people to fish better. We're going to teach them to farm better. And they're going to get marginal increases through the use of better fertilizers. But unless you holistically address these problems, and that's definitely marginal gain, but unless that farmer has crop insurance, it's just a matter of time before some insect or some drought puts them right back into poverty again. So simply giving technology to people so they can marginally do better doesn't fundamentally change the poverty paradigm either. So where the most effective charities focus are down here in the economic development area, where if you help a man start his own fish market, then you improve the economy and the standard of living for everyone in his village. And that's what I want to talk about, these types of charities. Opportunity International is one that I came to. It was mentioned in a couple of books that I mentioned to you. And I was really excited about what they were doing because they go in and take a holistic approach to doing economic development. You know, Albert Einstein said, you don't solve complex problems with simplistic solutions. Throwing money at a problem is a simplistic solution. If you want to do economic development, it takes a holistic approach. And I'll talk more about how you go about doing that. It's hard to explain, it's harder to get your mind around, but it's what actually will eliminate poverty and give people the best chance of moving out of those economic conditions. So let me ask you a question. What improves the standard of living? If you have a bad standard of living, you say, well, we don't have money. Well, what if you had lots of money and no one around you to buy goods and services from? Now what's your standard of living like? It's no better, right? So it's not money that increases the standard of living. It's having goods and services around you that you can buy and trade for. It's having an economy around you that gives you a standard of living. So what Opportunity International focuses on is on really building those microeconomies. So here's how it works. A thriving microeconomy that eliminates poverty, they don't just happen, they get engineered. So what Opportunity International does is they go into these impoverished areas, and the first thing they do is they start looking for who are the entrepreneurs in this community, who are the community leaders in this area, the people who have worked hard, and if they had an opportunity, they could do a lot more. We talk to them about their business plan. We give them microloans. We provide banking services to them. If there's no bank in your village, how do you start a business? How do you do payroll? Sometimes it's technology infrastructure. Sometimes it's transportation infrastructure that they need so they can get workers to where they need to be. And often it's an insurance vehicle. We won't invest in a farm unless they have some kind of crop insurance, because it's just a waste of time if you do that. So this is a holistic approach to building up some of these microeconomies. Now, let's talk about how it works. I've got a fictitious village here because I can never pronounce our real entrepreneur names. But this lady, she sews. And she said, you know, if I just have a $150 loan, I could buy 3 more sewing machines, and I could hire my sisters, and we can take this business to the next level. This lady says, you know, I'd love to open up a little market where I could sell stuff, but I got to have a seed capital to stock the shelves, to get the store going. This guy says, you know, a lot of my friends would work if they had a way to get to work. If I had enough money to do a down payment on a taxi, I could get a lot of people to work in the area. This guy said, I'd like to start a little private school. By the way, all education in third world countries is private. There is no public education. So private education is the only way to get education in those areas. This guy says, I can start a truck that we can transfer crops to other villages and sell them there. This guy could get workers, he could expand his fields and take his business to the next level. Feed not only his family, but maybe feed his village and other villages as well. And of course, then you need people to do processing and packaging to help get that on the trucks, to help get it to the other villages and these grocery stores. So what happens is Opportunity International moves in, and we have a strategy for how we go about doing this. First of all, we find those promising entrepreneurs in the area, and then we form them into a trust group. Now, a trust group does a lot of interesting things. It's kind of like a local chamber of commerce. They meet every week. They get business advice. They get coaching, consulting on their businesses. They get loans that they have to pay back. This is not charity. It's an investment. It says, we believe in you. We think that you're a good investment. We think that you're going to work hard. It's empowering. It's encouraging. They go out. They start buying and starting their businesses. And here's the thing, they cross-guarantee each other's loans. So now you're committed. If your neighbor's business fails, you got to pay his loan back. So who do you think these people are buying goods and services from? Where do you think farmer gets his green jeans? Who do you think he hires to bring workers to work or transport his crops? Where do you think he sends his kids for their education? They're in this together. And if you fail, you not only let yourself down, your family down, you let your trust group down, you let your whole village down. So this is a model that has been proven effective all around the world since the 1970s. So let me ask you, if you were a banker here today, what is the riskiest loan you could possibly make? How about a loan to someone who doesn't have a steady job, no steady paycheck, no collateral, and they're starting a new business? Who wants to make that loan? What do you think? What do you think the repayment rate would be on a loan like that? Would you believe 98% of our loans are paid back successfully? You know, when you believe in someone, you empower them with this energy. It changes the whole charity paradigm. We don't even call them, we don't call them our, what do you call people? We don't call them our charity people. We call them clients. They're our clients. We go out to work with them. So what happens? The outcome, people start buying goods and services from each other. Workers find jobs, because when you start a business and you're doing well, the first thing you do is hire more people. Then when you have money, people can send their kids to school now. And then the savings account starts, which is one of our critical metrics for us, is getting those savings accounts started so people have a safety net. So getting sick one time doesn't end everything you've built. Having one drought doesn't ruin so you don't have any money to get your seed next year to do your farm. So these are the indicators of how successful our microeconomies are. And this is what I say, one of the things you always want to look for in charity is sustainability. A lot of charities will spend 50 to 75% of the money that they take in fundraising for their next year. And so it's very hard. And they're the ones that you hear about most of the time. I won't mention any names. But they have to keep raising money all the time because they're giving it away and it's not sustainable. So what happens with opportunity? This is really neat. We make a loan to someone, usually in the $200 range or less. They get business advice, consulting, mentoring. They go join a trust group so they get encouragement from their friends. They're buying and selling goods to each other. The business takes off according to the plan. But then the money is paid back. We pay interest. Interest goes back into the account. So we're taking people off charity and we're turning them into donors. So the interest they're paying is actually going. Now they're giving money to other promising entrepreneurs. And this becomes a sustainable cycle. In fact, for every dollar that is donated to Opportunity International, within 5 years, we'll make $6 on that $1. That's a sustainable model. And that's probably why you haven't heard a lot about Opportunity International, is because we don't need to raise as much money. It doesn't mean we shouldn't. There's something more subtle going on here. I love this picture. I pulled it out of some of our literature. The spirit of entrepreneurship engages. You know, I want to tell you something. There's nothing more motivated, more passionate, more resourceful, more tenacious than an entrepreneur that has been funded. They get excited, and it's their baby. And you release this amazing creative energy. It's the total opposite of charity. It's empowering. And people, you tell them that we believe in you, and we think you can, we believe it so much, we're going to invest in you. Let me tell you that the last thing that person ever wants to do is let you down. I don't know if you've ever had someone believe in you like that, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about. The last thing you ever want to do is let that person down. So, I know something about entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, well, all of my life. Up until the last 2 years, I've become a venture capitalist. And I work with entrepreneurs. One's here, Tyler's here. There might be a slide. I'll show you at your lab. So, I work with entrepreneurs all the time. And you know what we do? We do exactly what Opportunity International does. We meet with them. We talk about their business plans. We help them model their business. We give them seed capital. Now, we don't do this altruistically. We do this because we make a lot of money doing this. But I think people all over the world are the same. I think human nature is the same, whether you're born in some village in a third world country or whether you're born here. That spirit of entrepreneurship is the same. Giving charity, make me a victim. Invest in my dream, empower my potential. That's what accountable charity is. It says we will not give you a handout, but we will give you a handout. And there's lots of neat things that make this work. For example, if the people in the village don't want someone in the trust group, that's the first sign for us. They know who the deadbeats are. They know where that, because I'm not paying his loan backs. No, you don't want him in the group. So that's kind of our first level of vetting, is who does the village, they know who works hard. They know who can be trusted. And so these trust groups become entrepreneurial support groups, the original accelerators, village by village. Empowering women is a big part of what we do. It wasn't necessarily the purpose. We did not start off to be a woman charity, but it just so happens today that 94% of our loans go to women. And the reason for that is just practical. Women are the most resourceful, untapped resource you will find in a third world country. They don't necessarily have the jobs and responsibilities that men have. They're able to say about these things.
David, you make a statement. You make a statement.
Make a statement. My wife's not even here. Our numbers skewed a little bit because of India. In some cultures, the men and women are allowed to be in groups together. And if we had to choose, we're going with the women. So, but it just turned out that these women are incredible entrepreneurs. And they are so appreciative. They are not going to blow this one shot they get. You know, in many of the countries where we work, a woman's not allowed to legally have a bank account. So we're the only bank account they're going to have. And they know this is their shot. And you talk about committed to a plan, they're committed. There's something else going on here too with the that's different. Entrepreneurs are the heroes of the third world. They create jobs, they employ others, they support on average 5 households, they pay taxes, which creates infrastructure. They become the leaders in their communities, and they become the next generation of investors in their communities. There is one difference between my entrepreneurs here in the States and these third world heroes. When you survey entrepreneurs in the U.S., and you ask them why they started their business, what do you think the #1 reason is? They want to get rich. They want to be rich. No surprise there. You give the same survey to our third world entrepreneurs, what do you think the #1 response is? Their children. They want a better life for their children. So now you can understand why most of our entrepreneurs happen to be female. So, where Opportunities International serves. We're in 28 countries, over 20,000 employees. We have 12 main clients right now. And we work in all the areas that you see on the map here, except the purple ones where the donor base is from. And you know, it's really interesting. We spend a lot of money treating the symptoms of poverty. Think about all the billions of dollars that have gone into places that are recruitment zones for terrorists, or places where there's human trafficking. We want to stop that. Or places where there's drugs being grown and exported. We spend tons and tons of money on that. Well, I guarantee if you trace the cause of any of those things back far enough, guess what? It was poverty. It was poverty that became the fertile ground that allowed all those things to grow. So instead of spending billions of dollars on symptoms, why don't you just go in and help build these economies by empowering the entrepreneurs that live there? And I think a lot of the symptoms that we spend so much money on would be subsidized or lessened. So these are our metrics. We're a very metric-driven organization. 3.5 million loan clients a year, $183 is our average loan. $1 comes 6 in 5 years. We invest in a woman entrepreneur every 7 seconds. 98% loan repayment. We have 1.3 billion on those loans right now. And I don't have the new annual reports, so this is last year's numbers. But 221 billion in our clients' savings accounts. That's 221 billion in savings accounts, which is the safety net for the third world. All the metrics that you look at here are also growing. You'll see from 2000 up to our 2014, which was our last year's report. You'll see in every category, number of savings accounts is going up, loans is going up. Every one of the metrics that we track, we're growing, we're gaining momentum. And this is a slide that I'm really proud about. If you look at this is our G&A. That's what we spend on fundraising and administration. And this is what goes out to our clients. And you'll notice that we had 27% in 2013, we had 22% in 2014 on a $51 million budget. So what's interesting there is usually as organizations get bigger, they become less efficient, and your G&A is going up and up. But what's happening with Opportunity International is as we get bigger with our operating budget, our actual G&A is becoming a smaller and smaller percentage of that, which means it's highly efficient. And then wrapping up, some of the most scrutinizing philanthropists on the planet have endorsed Opportunity International. We receive money from the Gates Foundation, from many local corporations support us, and have said good things about the sustainability of what we're doing. This is Charity Navigator, which is a third-party resource for rating charities. And Opportunity International receives the highest 4 stars, the highest rating that they give. And we're one of the few charities ever to receive a 100% on accountability and transparency. And this is our vision. By 2020, we'd like to create 20 million jobs. And that's not just our entrepreneurs, that's the people our entrepreneurs hire. So there's a snowball effect in how we go about doing this. This is my last slide. What would you do to eliminate poverty on our planet? Microloans in and of themselves doesn't do it. Teaching people to fish better or grow better crops doesn't do it. Starting schools doesn't do it. It takes this combined holistic approach of creating these micro-economies that burst on the scene because we do a whole bunch of them all in one place at the same time. That's what changes, that's the magic in empowering and harnessing the power of entrepreneurship and that energy, that passion, that tenacity, that resourcefulness. It changes the whole position of charity from you are a victim to you are someone I can believe in. You are someone I can trust to repay this from. And that's why Opportunity International is a charity that I chose to support after looking at a lot. There's a lot of great charities out there. But this one, maybe it's just because I understand entrepreneurship. I've seen the magic of what happens when you empower entrepreneurs. That's led me to really want to support this organization. And so we said this wasn't a fundraiser tonight. I don't believe you talk anyone into doing charity. I think that when, the desire to give is the spark of the divine, I think, in all of us. And it makes us want to do something. So when you are ready to give, whenever that is, my request of you would just be give intelligently. Make sure that you get a return on that investment. And above all, make sure you do no harm with that investment. If you'd like to know more about Opportunity International, let me ask our governors that are here tonight to stand up. And the people who work with Opportunity. Let's see everyone. And Tom, you were supposed to introduce me. I forgot. I'm so sorry.
I don't think you need an introduction.
But Tom's been how many years with Opportunity?
28.
Tom's been almost 30 years with Opportunity International and has been an entrepreneur and investor for about that long here in the Triangle. So anyway, I hope you enjoy your dessert. Feel free to get another drink, hang out, talk to one of these guys who stood up if you want to know more. There's information on the tables. Hank, you want to say something?
Yeah, I actually would. My name's Hank Jones, and I met Dave a couple of years ago, but last year he introduced me to Opportunity International, and Dave and I invested in a number of things together. And I was really taken by his presentation. So I put some money in, and then I had the opportunity to go down to Nicaragua and see what OI was doing in real time. And I was very impressed by the organization and what they were doing. And Dave obviously covered an awful lot of what OI does. But one thing that I'd like to add is, well, two things. One is that they are really, really concerned about accountability on the part of those people that are get these loans. they really watch these people and make sure that they follow through on their responsibilities. The other thing is that when I was there, and I was there for maybe 3 days, 4 days, is that you see a variety of situations. And when you go on these trips, they show you a variety of situations. One of the situations was this poor woman, obviously poor, but this woman who was doing a lot of pottery work in the back of her hut. She had this kiln and so forth, and she was working with, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 neighbors or brothers or cousins or whatever, and they were just working away, and they had these forms and so forth. And if you ever want to see one, come over to my house, because it's right in the kitchen. And it was beautiful work, but she was really proud of the work she was doing. All right, so that's sort of the low end of things. And then in Nicaragua, we went to some other things. One was a school. These guys, they don't just help business people. They create the framework for further development. They are building a school. Well, excuse me, they built a school, and they're just about to have their first graduation in November, December, something like that. And these schools are, what they do is, given the reality of the situation they were in, is that they made sure that those students learned what was best for their future. Tourism, entrepreneurship, variety of other things. They're not going to be engineers, but it does help them get out from under the poverty that they are living in. And then third, well, not the third, but the final impression I have is that if you guys are thinking big, OI is thinking big, in that there's this guy down in Nicaragua who has built this plant of, how many square feet, Greg? 800,000 square feet?
No, sorry.
What's the square footage?
Processing plant, about 80,000.
80,000. 80,000 square feet. And what they do is they take the yucca plants and they bring them over, and they're not necessarily competing with Cargill, but they are doing work that is sustainable and gives them reason for increasing the volume of their yucca, and I'm getting too much into the weeds here. But it does tell you that it's not just helping the small people, it's building an infrastructure getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, obviously, I recommend that everybody here pull out your checkbooks and donate. This is a very, very good organization.
Thank you, Hank. Some of the entrepreneurs built some of the things you see on your tables. You know, they have different industries for different things. Sometimes it's a small little shop that makes scarves. And sometimes it's a big operation like Nicaragua, which is a great story. We went to Nicaragua and said, what do you have? They said, we have yucca plants. People eat them, they're very nourishing. They said, well, why don't you grow more? Well, we have enough to feed our families. They said, well, why don't you grow more and export them? And they're like, well, we can't preserve them or package them. We don't have a way to transport them. They said, well, what if you did? And all of a sudden, this industry started forming around the yucca plants. And it's been very transformational. So I want to introduce Greg, who's with Opportunity, and it's my handler.
I just want to express our gratitude for this evening. And first, I'd like to start with David and Cheryl. I think we had met in the spring, and you said, let's get another deal together. And so here we are at the deal. And so thank you all for coming out. And we just returned from Nicaragua, Tom Skelton and I and some other folks, on Sunday, 2 days ago. And I brought back 2 things for you and for Cheryl. And I don't think Cheryl's here, so you get to pick. So both of these are client products. This is made by Fidel Gonzalez and his twin brother. They're third-generation wood crafters. This is made from recycled wood, so wood that falls in the forest. They pay, and these big unwieldy pieces of wood, they create these beautiful things of beauty. I had him put his initials on the bottom for you just, Tom, when was it? 2 or 3 days ago. So that's for you or Cheryl. And this one is made by a client by the name of Myra Perales. They were in Messiah, Nicaragua. This is Managua, Nicaragua. This is made by Myra Perales, and what this is fascinating, she and her husband go through the garbage dumps and they pick out metals that society has cast off and said have no value. Indeed, Myra believes otherwise, and she and her husband melt these metals and create these things of beauty. It's a perfect metaphor for the type of transformation that Opportunity hopes to achieve in the life of our clients. So this is a picture frame made from previously discarded cast-off metals made into a thing of beauty, and we hope that you and Cheryl enjoy that with our compliments. And can we give Cheryl and David a round of applause? A couple of other quick thank yous, and for our host, the Patels, and the Lappins, and the Eubanks, and the Joneses. Where are you all?
All of our governors who made this possible.
And all of our governors, Cynthia Frost, David Sims, Tom and Darla Skelton. Can you all just stand up real quick? Let us thank you, and thanks so much for all of you.
Continue to drink, enjoy the evening. Thank you for coming. And if you want to know anything else about Opportunity International, talk to one of the governors here, or even with the pen like this. Thank you.